Hello everyone and welcome to part 0 of my Let's Play of Kyuuyaku Megami Tensei for the Super Famicom. For those of you new around here, I like to put out introduction episodes like this to provide background info before launching a Let's Play. So if you're not interested in this and want to skip right ahead to the gameplay, go ahead and skip on to the next episode. For those of you who wish to stay, I'll be explaining the game's history and how I plan on editing this Let's Play. Kyuuyaku Megami Tensei is a 1995 JRPG developed by Opera House and published by Atlus. That's the simple version, at least. Indulge me for a bit as I start from the beginning and give you the long story. You might want to grab a drink and a snack. In 1986, Japanese author Aya Nishitani released the first in a trilogy of novels, a book titled Digital Devil Story Megami Tensei, or Goddess Reincarnation in English. The novel tells the story of a gifted high school student who creates a computer program that summons demons. The story was notable for mixing elements of cyberpunk, fantasy, and horror, and telling a fairly unique narrative as a result. The novel found a decent amount of success and received 2 sequels, Digital Devil Story 2, Warrior of the Demon City, and Digital Devil Story 3, Demise of the Reincarnation. The first novel in the trilogy received several adaptations in other mediums. Shortly after the book was released, it was adapted into an original video animation. It's pretty bad, and if you ever track it down yourself, you'll soon understand why they never got around to adapting the rest of the trilogy. Contrary to popular belief, Digital Devil Story Megami Tensei would then be adapted into not 1, but 2 video games. The first was developed and published by Telenet, best remembered now for creating the Valis series. Telenet's adaptation was released in the summer of 1987 for various Japanese computer platforms. It was a top-down action game that has been practically forgotten over the years, but it is notable for introducing moon phases as a gameplay mechanic, something that would stay with the series for years to come. A much more successful adaptation would be released for the Famicom a few months later, developed by Atlus and published by Namco. That being said, calling this game an adaptation is a bit of a misnomer. You see, this game was developed between the second and third books of the original novel trilogy being released. Instead of creating a direct adaptation of the source material, Atlus instead opted to make their game a sequel to the first 2 books. Essentially, they decided to create their own ending to the trilogy. Atlus's version of Megami Tensei shares little in common with the Telenet game that preceded it. This adaptation is a first-person dungeon-crawling RPG in the style of wizardry. The main difference between Megami Tensei and its contemporaries is how the game handles its party. Instead of featuring a group of adventurers made by the player, Megami Tensei starts the player out with only 2 human party members. To fill out the rest of the party, the protagonist must recruit demons found in the dungeon by negotiating with them. These demons can then be fused together to create even more powerful party members, provided the main character is a high enough level to control them. This take on the traditional RPG formula proved successful, and Atlus followed this game up with a direct sequel in 1990, titled Digital Devil Story Megami Tensei 2. While technically within the same continuity as the first 2 novels in the first Atlus game, references to previous materials are fleeting at best, and you can really start to feel Atlus branching out creatively. For one thing, the game takes place in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, and the vast majority of characters and events depicted within the game are completely of Atlus's creation, bearing only a slight resemblance to the novels that came before. In 1992, Atlus would go on to develop Shin Megami Tensei for the Super Famicom. Despite Shin Megami Tensei's gameplay and narrative borrowing heavily from the novels and games that came before, the game takes place within a new continuity. From this point on, the Shin Megami Tensei brand would become a massive franchise in and of itself, eventually eclipsing the original novel trilogy and Famicom games in popularity. In 1995, Atlus hired the short-lived game development studio Opera House to remake the first 2 Megami Tensei games and package them together in a compilation titled Kyuuyaku Megami Tensei. For those wondering, the title roughly translates to Goddess Reincarnation, the Old Testament. The first game was expanded upon greatly, making the dungeon more complex and adding in gameplay conveniences from more recent Atlus RPGs. The second game was left mostly unchanged, though a few bonuses were added in for players who complete certain actions in the first game. While the game was never officially localized, an English fan translation for Kyuuyaku Megami Tensei was released in 2014. This Let's Play is only covering the first game of this compilation, but I do plan on getting around to the second at a later date. Yeah, I told you it'd be long. So, who the fuck am I? Well, my name is Razin, and I just happen to be a guy who really likes the Megami Tensei franchise. A few years back, I hosted a fan podcast with my friend Katsu, and after it ended, I went on to create a Let's Play of Shin Megami Tensei. As of this recording, it's by far the most successful Let's Play I've produced, and I think that's in no small part due to my editing style. I like to edit out the fluff from my RPG Let's Plays, such as repetitive random encounters, backtracking, and level grinding. Basically, if I feel that a piece of footage contributes nothing to the game as an overall experience, I'll cut it out or speed it up. I know this editing style isn't for everyone, but I personally feel it allows me to strike the perfect balance between pacing, insightful commentary, and representing the game accurately. The last thing I want to do as a video creator is feel like I'm wasting my viewers' time. That being said, this Let's Play is going to be a bit slower paced than my SMT1 LP due to the nature of the game itself. Shin Megami Tensei 1 has a lot more plot and NPCs than this game has, so viewers going into this Let's Play solely for the narrative may be a little disappointed. I implore you to look at this game from a historical perspective. Back in the day, the challenge and the excitement of exploring a virtual labyrinth was in and of itself half the fun. Try to keep that in mind and you'll enjoy the slow parts of this game a lot more, I promise. I'll do my best to try and keep things entertaining too with my commentary. I have to imagine that there will be a good number of viewers who find this series without having seen my previous Let's Play of Shin Megami Tensei, but might be interested in watching that in addition to this Let's Play. These viewers may be wondering what order they should watch these Let's Plays in, and the answer is I have no real clue. The original Megami Tensei came out 5 years before SMT1 did, but the version of the game I'm using for this Let's Play came out 3 years after SMT1. Additionally, I've grown a lot as a video creator since the SMT1 playthrough, and viewers who start with this Let's Play may find it a little annoying to go back to the old one from a technical perspective. Personally, I find my SMT1 Let's Play a bit hard to watch, but I'm also self-aware enough to state that I'm probably just being too harsh on myself. To this day, I get kind messages from people saying that they binge-watched the entire thing in a couple of days and enjoyed it greatly. I don't really think there's a right or a wrong way to watch these Let's Plays, so go ahead and do whatever feels right to you. I've rambled on long enough now, so I figure I might as well shut up for now. I hope you look forward to watching this Let's Play as much as I look forward to making it. Hope you have a good night.